Hello and welcome. These are horse racing selections for Wednesday, the 8th of November. I am Flat Cap Callum and I am hoping you are all very, very well. I don't know whether the evening's gone. It's much later than it planned to be, and it's not even like the bets are that complicated for Wednesday. So what we got? We've got for Wednesday coming up 2 bets. £17 stake. We've got an each way Yankee, 2 at Musselburgh, 2 at Kempton. That's all I've got for Kempton. And then we've got 5 horses, 5 races, Dundalk. So we've got, I don't know, technically a Dundalk special was a 4 horse bet last season. So I don't know what a 5-1 is. So we've got a Canadian with a little each way Trixie on the best 3 as well. So £17 stake, 9 races, 9 horses. So straightforward-ish, I would say, for the plan. Nothing else really on the jumps. 2 at Musselburgh, and I'll get into those. And they're not, well, one's an absolute shorty as well. That's not the most exciting, but we'll see. There's an interesting horse I'll talk to you about as well. So we've got that. I've got to do the review of Saturday. And Sunday there was no selections. I want to say there was no selections. I think there was no selections on Sunday that I can think of. Then Monday we did do a video. Going to talk about the Melbourne Cup. We've got to talk about last week's golf, and then we've got we've got Wednesday's horses. This week's golf, very small interest for this week's golf. I'll talk about that in a bit, but basically there is 2 tournaments. I've got 1 player in each, so I'm going to do a little single on each with a small double on both of them. So if you were doing it to Channel Stake Advisory, it's £2.50 is the outlay for the golf this week. That's as much as I've got for you. I wasn't massively keen on either tournament. I went and looked through it. Nothing in the side bets that I was massively keen on at all. Not really a good week for side bets, I don't think. But then when I actually went through the basis of the tournament, I was like, I got one for each that I'm happy with, and that's it. And it's not even like I've just tried to make it one. I have got one of each. There's not like 2 in one and 1 in the other. I thought, maybe which one should I go for? No, it's clear, 1 in each. So where shall we begin? Saturday, can't find the papers, but I was just point. There was a couple of other things we're going to talk about in this video. One was just about state of the channel. There's some comments over the weekend and stuff, so I thought it'd be useful just to sort of give a bit of commentary on that. Just basically people asking very fair and valid questions about kind of channel stats this year versus last year. So we'll talk about that, and then when we do. Well, I'll touch on it when we get onto the review of Mondays about particular horse, particular race, particular bookmaker. Come back to you on that one. All right, so Saturday, 35.50 on, 23.37 back. We didn't do so well in the afternoon, and then it got a bit better as the day went on, but wasn't enough to make a win. So I'm just looking here. We had first horse of the day, Ombre de Guerra, had a really nice burst to finish, and then it basically that was it for a while. It was rubbish, wasn't it? It was absolutely rubbish. So none of the big prizes did much in the afternoon. The Win Trixie was poor, and then we got to Chelmsford. Some got paid out for Chelmsford, so there was the two shorty ones did frame, and then Forza Timeo, which actually drifted to 50 to 1 SP. I think Sky paid it out from what John said in the comments. I didn't double check that on the day. I was quite busy on Saturday afternoon, so I wasn't all over the results. And I didn't actually watch a lot of the racing in the afternoon just because I was out. I think that would have been quite nice. I think it was the SPs or something like 6, 11 and 50s. So if you did get that with Sky Bet, you'd have actually done all right on Saturday. So well done. And then the 6-fold Acker was awful, absolutely awful. I think we had one on a 1 horse place and 4 dots, and they weren't big prices. That was bad. And then the Breeders' Cup spared me blushes really. So 4 horses. And there was a query about the first one because the first horse wasn't on the television. It wasn't one of the official Breeders' Cup races. It wasn't one of the grade 9, grade 1s that was on Saturday. night. It was a Grade 2, it wasn't a kind of a local donkey race. It was a decent quality race, and the horse I was on, I was quite happy with. It got done in a bunch finish. Really, it was a really tight finish in that race, and it wasn't far away. But then we have 3 Witches, which if you took the single advisory, which I put in the comments, which was Paddy and Betfair, you would have got 100. So the channel took it as 50s, but 100 to 1 is what you could have got with Paddy and Betfair. So I know there's a couple that put in the comments they did get that 100 to 1, so fair play. Even at 33s was the SP. That was the best priced horse that finished in the top 3 of any race at the Breeders' Cup on Saturday night. It wasn't easy to come by from a value perspective. 7 favourites out of 9 won. The 8th race was not race 8, but there was the other race that wasn't a favourite, was a 7-2 second favourite when the favourite was 100 to 30. And the only other winner was our last horse, Nobles, which went off at 10s, 11 advisory, but you could have got 12s in places. So we had the best price winner and the best price place in the top 3 in any of the races. So it didn't come out with a massive profit. If you got 100s for your Yankee bet, that would have really helped as well. So there'll be some that actually kind of broke even, maybe come out slight profit on Saturday. Channel had it as a loss. But yeah, I'm never going to be backing favourites in them races, am I, in the Breeders' Cup when they're so short, some of them, and those favourite backers will have had a lovely day. But to be fair, I was quite happy with how that turned out with the best price winner and the best price placed horse amongst the 4 horses I put out across all of them. Well, that was 10 races I could have chosen from. So that was that. But it didn't help us for the week. So we lost for the week and we're down for October. So stats-wise, just definitely on a decline. Now the point is, I guess, it's on a decline. I've said this many times. I'm putting myself out there with the statistics. No, not very many people record the statistics. I think it's the right thing to do, because if I'm saying to you I make money, I record my profit and loss. I know what I'm doing. Therefore, I should be doing the same for the channel to try and demonstrate that. Now, this year, the only way you'd have been up following everything I'm doing would have been if you'd been using Sky for everything. But if you hadn't been, you're not that far away. Now, I'm not going to jump out and going, ta-da, look at me, because comparatively to last year, it's not great, is it? But you wouldn't have lost a lot this year. Certainly, the average punter loses a lot more than what I've lost on the channel for the basis of 10 months. But yeah, it's we're still searching. We've got 8 weeks to go, find something. We have got the last week of December, which is one of my favourite weeks of the year, but yeah, it didn't end well last week. So then the golf last week, we ended up striking out in the outright markets, but in the side bet, KH Lee and Martin Laird were the top in their category, so we had a little profit on the side bet. So I think I advised it as 9. I think I worked out it'd been about 6 back, so you got about 2/3 of your stake back, so a £3 loss on the golf for last week, but at least there was something to cheer about in terms of a return. So that was that, and then yeah, I can't see that I did anything on Sunday. I'm pretty sure I can't remember. I don't think I put it. I certainly didn't do a video. Anyway, that was that. Monday. So Monday I did a bonus vid, and basically I started off liking 2 races and 2 horses. Well, 2 races and 3 horses in those 2 races, and then I added in an extra one, and then I was like, I'm going to make up to Yankee, and then I added in one that was a little bit more sidey betty territory. But either way, it was a profit if you were Sky, but possibly if you were 365. That will be the debate. So the 130 Kempton on Monday, a day in your life, was 66s for 365. Channel had it at 40s. Now the night before, it was only 3 places with 365. It was 4 with Sky. Then in the morning, 365 changed it, and they had it as 4 places all day long, right up until the start of the race. So by my reckoning, if you put the bet on in the daytime, which is normally the other way around, but in the daytime, you should have got paid out 4th place on 365. If you put it on the night before, you might not have done. And I say might not have done because I think it just will depend, and I don't want to go into it massively, but what I will say is if you had placed a bet with 365 and you only got paid out on 3 places and therefore you didn't get paid out on a day in your life, I think you would be rightly peeved, and you would be well within your rights to have a conversation with that said bookmaker about that situation. And maybe, let's imagine if somebody was doing that and it involved amount of money that was worth having a conversation about, you wouldn't want to probably talk about that openly until it maybe had a resolution either way, if you catch my drift. Not happy. I'll explain about how the whole there's a few ongoing things with bookies. Well, as you'll remember, a few weeks ago I mentioned about the fact that there was a restriction I had on Coral and Labrix that did me on both accounts at the exact same minute on a Saturday morning. Saturday morning as well. That's harsh. I thought I'd give them a go. I wrote to them. I said, well, just well, I won't go to the whole email, but basically what I was saying was a bit curious what happened to my betting accounts. They couldn't give me an explanation about why those were restricted. They did suggest to me that I could play bingo, roulette, lottery, basically any games. An absolute cheek of it. I can do all the stuff that you absolutely lose money on, but I can't do the horses with your accounts. And I'm restricted to 17p outright without, literally. Anyway, jokes. I'm digressing. I know there'll be at least 2 people who get narked with me now. Sorry about that. Alright, so Monday was 12 on 450 back, but we had a day in your life placed for 4th for some. That was right, was what I was saying. Then we had that 250, and I was split between 2, and I put them in the combo doubles, and I did Kingston Sunflower in the doubles and Carinelli in both, and I originally had that bet the other way around. I'm glad it didn't matter in the end, because Kingston Sunflower was the better one. Carinelli pulled up early doors. Kingston Sunflower was 5th, and 4th would have paid out. So had that been the other way around, I'd have been a bit narked. So we had a day in your life placed for some at 66 as 40 for the channel. Carinelli was pulled up. Kingston Sunflower 5th, won out the placings, and you could have got 50s on that one at 365. And then the 307 Plumpton, I see you well, 40s backed into 25s, was 2nd. So we had some really nice prices, framing and just about framing and framing for some. And then the 630 Dynamite Katie, which some of you queried with me about, kind of, it looked awful on paper. It did look awful on paper for some, I get that. But yeah, it wasn't far away, to be fair. It was 9th. And as I did suggest, I thought some of the market principles might get a bit run out of steam, and if they did, it did actually finish ahead of about 3 other horses. It wasn't a million miles away, but it was one of them. It was worth taking, I thought, at 66s. I wouldn't have gone 40s. I probably wouldn't have done it, because it felt like more of a side betty type horse where I'd be looking at kind of extra places, trying to I played that horse for 6 places in some of the other stuff I was doing off the channel. Didn't get paid out, it was 9th, but alright, that was that anyway. I'm sorry, I'm waffling. I'm sorry, I know. Some love it, some absolutely hate it, don't they? Okay, so I think that's the review done. So we're starting the week with a minus £7.50 from Monday. We move into Wednesday. Let's do Wednesday's bets, and then we'll go into the other stuff. Wednesday's bets. So one horse I'm going to dwell on here. 140 Musselburgh. I'm starting with a shorty. To be honest, it was the only horse I had that I thought was a bit of a win bet type horse, although not huge amount of value in it. In the sense of I would probably put that more like 5 to 2, 11 to 4, so not a huge amount, but it was the only one I had, and I thought, well, maybe I'll just put that in the Yankee with the other threes, rather than anything else on it. So we've got 140 Musselburgh Slugger 4 to 1. 100% that's odds on to come in the front three, but there's not huge movement in it, so I won't want to go too much shorter than what I've just explained. Then the one I'm going to dwell on is 250 Musselburgh Moo-Moo's Milan. Lovely name for a horse. Moo-Moo's Milan, 16 to 1. Now, this is not a horse I would usually put on the channel, because it doesn't quite fit in the criteria, but it was so interesting I wanted to put it in. Um, so some will look at that on face value, and it depends on where you look at it. And annoyingly, Racing Post have given you a little bit of a curiousness if you read Racing Post review. If you go on Sporting Life, you use Timeform, they would write this horse off, and that's much more helpful to me. So I'm hoping that most publications, if you read them, will write the horse off, and it might help. Ultimately, if that horse is what I think that horse is, then I think that price will get shorter. So, on face value, look at the horse and you go, it's run 3 times, it's come 6th, 6th and 9th, or 9th, 6th and 6th, I think it is that way around. Not close, and it was 50 to 1 or 100 to 1 each time. So why would you back that horse? So that's what the average punter would look at. They'd look at 9th, 6th, 6th, 50 to 100 to 1. Why would you back the horse? Now, the interesting thing about that horse, well, I say the interesting, there's lots of interesting things about the horse. That's why they've converged together for me to include it in the channel where it wouldn't usually on bare form. So it's done the archetypal thing, which is running 3 hurdle races to get it a handicap mark. So for those of you who, last time I said this was a long time ago and you don't remember or you don't know this sort of stuff, when you've got a jumps horse, if you want to run it in a handicap, you need to get a handicap mark, and then that basically means you have to have run it in 3 novice or maiden races, and it has to have finished, I don't know if it has to have finished at least 2 of them, but it's got to have got round in order for it to get a handicap mark. So what you find often in novice and maiden races, which is why sometimes it's useful to play in those races like Slugger and Chartswell Lady, they're non-handicap races, is quite a lot of the horses in those races are just running to get their 3 qualifying races done, and then they get the handicap mark. Now, the most obvious way of looking at that to see if that's what that horse is doing is they generally run the races 2 to 3 weeks apart. So if the horse is sound enough, they'll run it 2 or 3 weeks apart. Now, in normal terms on jumps racing, you don't get many horses that run 2 to 3 weeks apart and keep going. But when they're qualifying for a handicap mark, they will normally run it between 2 and 3 weeks apart. That's what that horse that's done over the summer. Shoved it in 3 races. They all happen to be much local races to the trainer. So I think she's based in, Leicestershire. And it was all of the kind of Midlandsy tracks. It was Southwell and somewhere else, I can't remember, Warwick, I think. It was all played, or Worcester, something like that. So basically 3 tracks, get a qualifying mark, all near where the trainer is based. So that is kind of what happens in a lot of places. Now, what makes this interesting is the trainer is based in Leicestershire, ran it in these 3 qualifying races, they've put it away for a few months, they're now taking it to Musselburgh. So they're actually taking it all the way up to Musselburgh to run the horse, as long as it blinking well runs. So that's a long way to go for a horse that's making a handicap debut and has donkey form. So you wouldn't normally want to travel a horse that far, because there's plenty of other tracks closer than where the stable's based, unless you thought that it was worth taking up there. Now, what would it be worth taking up there for? So it's a novice handicap chase. Why is that significant? Because it ran over 3 qualifying runs in hurdles. This is a chase race. You don't usually find, that's unusual to find it running 3 qualifying races, and then the first race it goes into after that is a handicap chase, albeit a novice handicap chaser, inexperienced chasers. So that's interesting. It ran 3 times over 2 mile, 2 mile 1. It's going up to 2 mile and 4. So it's stepping up in distance, and it's going over chases for the first time. If you look at breeding, the horse is out of Milan. Milan is a generally known horse for producing middle to long distance chases. It does all sorts, it's quite a prolific horse to breed from, but middle to long distance chase races. So this horse is being put into a handicap akin to the type of breeding it suggests it would be better at. It doesn't suggest 2 miles on a hurdle is what it wants. It's suggesting 2.5 to 3 miles chase is what that wants from breeding point of view. Some will look at that and go on bare form, it's £13 out the handicap, and if you see that as a headline, people will run for the hills because they're like, well, it should be running on £13 lighter. It'd never run on £13 lighter because literally horses don't run on that rating. It's rated I think it's rated 61, and the base mark here is 74. So it looks like a scary thing, but basically this horse could be absolutely so much better than 74. So let's not get worried about what 61 is, because it's done nothing in its free prep races. But now it's going travelling to go in a chase, in a handicap, up in distance. It's got a good jockey booking. Kevin Brogan's riding it. And on top of all of that, they're putting cheek pieces on it for the first time. So they're going headgear, travelling it, good jockey, up in distance, over chasers, into a handicap. All of the little trigger points of things that I would look for of, oh, okay, they're doing something different with it, moving it around. All of that's happening on the horse all at the same time. So what it tells me is they are trying with that horse in a way they haven't tried before. Now, the horse could fall, the horse could still be rubbish, but they're trying it all at the same time. They're not just doing little bits and going, well, that didn't work last time, we'll do this. All of that together on one horse, that tells me the horse is going up there for a reason. So we will find out Moo Moo's Milan. I love the name. I would love it if it ran a great race. But on bare form, it's awful and you would look to avoid it. And if you look on bare form, it shouldn't be 16-1. If you take into account all the things I've said, if there's price movement in that and it gets shorter, I'll be getting quite interested. Okay, that's a long explanation. 4:30 Kempton, Chartswell Lady. It's not an exciting race in terms of like 13, 14 runners in a maiden or novice at Kempton. Half of them haven't ever run before, so that's a bit of a question mark. The half that have, that's got the second best piece of form outside the favourite. That's got the second best piece of form. So it should be 33-1. You never quite know how much the people are going to be trying on these horses or not. But I think it's worth it at 33-1. And then we're finishing off 8 o'clock Kempton Storyhouse 12-1. 20p each way Yankee, 250p each way singles, Moo Moo's Milan and Chartswell Lady. I know that was a long explanation, but I'm hoping, because I was converging loads of different information all in one thing on one horse, it was a bit educational for people. Some, I'm sure, will tell me that's their bread and butter and they see that stuff all the time. By the way, there was plenty of other horses that are running in handicap debuts on chases. There's a couple of them running elsewhere on Wednesday, but they're conditional jockey races, and it's not the same in terms of it's hard to know who's trying or not in those sorts of races. Anyway, 60p win single on Storyhouse. £7 is the bet. Sky best. And then 365 or Paddy second best. That's the bet one. Bet two, we're not going to be explaining this stuff. We're just going to crack on through. But these are my Dundalkos for the day. 310 Sunset Nova. We are regularly backing that horse. It is absolutely a kind of 3rd to 6th type of a horse, and we need it to be top 4. So plenty of value in 25s. If you actually, it probably wouldn't go down like this. It doesn't tend to go down in the markets like that, but in terms of actual real what it should be in terms of true price, the horse probably should be about 12s and 14s, something like that. So that's why I keep backing this horse at 25-1, because pretty much it will get in the frame of that kind of handicap mark 50% of the time. 345 Memorial Verse 25s. That's the most competitive race I think out of all 5. I'm not saying it's the worst one, but there's a few others I had on my shortlist, and if I was doing combo doubles and stuff, that would be the first race I would look at, the 345. Then the 420 Hasten Slowly 11s, 455 Cartiez 16s, and finishing 525 Darkened 10s. So it's 10p each way Canadian. Then we've got free. So this is the 3 bigger prices: 50p each way singles and a 10p each way Trixie. So I was looking at doing, should I do a 40p each way double on the best 2, and I couldn't really split those 3, so I thought I'll just do it as an additional Trixie because they're the best valued 3 horses. So you do your Canadian and your singles, and then you go back and you reuse those 3 to get a 10p each way Trixies. That's an additional each way doubles and trebles. And then the 2 short prices, Hasten Slowly and Darkened, are 50p win singles. £10 is your bet. Sky Best, there's a couple of races they're paying 5. Most bookies are 4 across the board. What I would say to you is avoid Hills if you can help it. Hills are only 3 on a few of these. Hills are the least good of the major bookies on this bet. So if you can avoid hills, I would avoid hills. That is bet 2 and the second bet. All right, that's that. Golf, I mean, I'll put it in the comments as I usually do. But 2 golfers, the Nedbank Challenge. We've got Nacho Elvira, who's been fairly regular. I think we've had him a few times in the staking plan. So Nacho Elvira for the Nedbank Challenge, and Justin Lower for the Bermuda Championships. Justin Lower for the Bermuda Championships. They're the 2 golfers I've got. Best place to put the bet on, time making this video, was 365. So I'm recommending 365 8th place market. So some of them have got the tournaments of smaller field sizes, and so not all bookies are paying 8s. There's quite a few paying 6 and 7. So I've put the book advisor in there. But if you want to get the best for the double, and arguably definitely one single and the other one almost, then I would be putting them on at 365. If it's not 365, then I think it's 888 Paddy Betfair are your next best bookies for those ones, followed by Sky, I think 5th best, something like that. But yeah, it'll be in the comments so you can see it in there. That's that. All right. What's there anything? I mean, I've kind of mused on most things as I've gone, to be fair, but yeah, Neil asked me some really fair questions at the weekend, and I think it probably was just a bit. My interpretation was maybe it's a bit of frustration because, absolutely appreciating. I'm trying to put in a lot of work into what I'm doing in here, but I'm not getting any joy this year. And the start of the year, if you recall back, there was a few times where I kind of alluded to. There was days I didn't do videos, and missed a few things, and decent days, and that was really, really frustrating. But yeah, I guess the question is, when I started the channel, I think the first 10 months to the channel, it was kind of like my primary focus. I was doing more betting, and then about October last year, I got back into kind of regular work, non betting horse racing work, and therefore I've got physically less time. So the kind of the questions were, which is very fair. If I've got less time, how have I got? Therefore, what impact does that have on picking horses? Because clearly, on bare results, you go look at the results. Now, what you can say is, last year, October, December, I was working, and we had really, really good months. Both those months, we had really good months. So to me, it's not necessarily. Am I working? Have I got less time? Yes, I've got less time, but that's impacting me in other ways. Sometimes the videos might look a bit rushed. Sometimes they're in the middle of the night or whatever they might be. But the research is never rushed. I wouldn't, I've got too much integrity to kind of just rush stuff out for the sake of it. I'm not here to try and get viewers. I'm not here to get cash. Ultimately, I want to try and help people. And some days it really takes its toll. I mean, Saturday was not. I looked at the results. I thought, results are rubbish. Oh no! I'm looking in the comments. People are asking me very valid but mildly pokey questions and stuff like that. But fair ones, I would say. Because it doesn't look good, and it depends, because some people don't care. Some people are just here because they like the channel vibe, and they share their tips and stuff, and they're happy. They this year they'll have lost less money with me than they would have done betting their own tips, and so that's how some people feel. I appreciate if people have been here a long time, they're remembering the heady days of we had multiple days last year, and why is it not repeated this year? And then people will start looking for things. What I would say is I have got less time, and that is impacting me. I am generally more tired, and I'm generally not eating as well and sleeping as well and doing as much fitness. And I notice a difference in terms of how I feel about kind of picking horses and researching when I'm a little bit on my game. So I'm thoughtful more about that than it is anything else to do with kind of not paying enough attention to kind of the research and stuff. I don't watch racing in the daytime, but I watch lots and lots of replays of various things as I go through. So my plan is to sort of crack on as we are, get the year done, because I only changed where I was recording the stats in September. So we're going to get to the end of the year, and then we'll see what's what with where we're at for stats, our viewers are feeling, how I'm feeling, and where we get to. Always said I will not be doing this forever. It is a period of time. And yes, I've gone from doing it every day to more than half the week. but ultimately, even doing it like I'm doing it isn't going to be sustainable. So at some point, it will, you know, what will come first, I don't know. Whether I reduce down and it become more of a casual channel, or I'll just have a longer extended break and then come back as a casual. Well, it is a casual, but as in less frequent and less regular. But yeah, I'm thoughtful about. I didn't want to do it while I'm running the channel, but in terms of if I did reduce down the channel video output, or I decided to take an extended break, then I'm thoughtful about, in terms of how to maintain the kind of channel vibe and community. I will be exploring what options there are for like some sort of chat type group, so that people that wanted to could kind of move into that, and I can carry on communicating in some sort of chat group. And as along the couple of years, people have mentioned that a number of times. I just didn't want to add to that while I'm doing a channel. But my intention would be, at what point, if whether the channel gets reduced down or I have some sort of break, that maybe in the interim, then some sort of chat group is how I could function. So I wouldn't necessarily not function in life, I'll be fine. But as in, I wouldn't be doing videos, but then I can interact with people. But importantly, other people can interact. So if you're one of those people that like sharing your own tips and seeing what other people are doing, then we could use it in that kind of way. But I would absolutely be looking to maintain the same element. Not, it would be a some sort of private group for people who've been following the channel, as opposed to, I'm not doing it to get any money or anything else from it. I'd be doing it to kind of carry on kind of the community feel for the channel. So that's just what I'm kind of talking out loud. So as far as, the end of the year, we're going to crack on, and we'll build up to that last week of December and try and hit something at Limerick, Leopardstown, and see what else we can find along the way. You never know, Dundalk on Wednesday, we could absolutely have a little zinger lurking there. We could not. Who knows? But yeah, I'll try and pull some more stats and stuff. I mean, what's one thing that is absolutely different this year compared to last year? I haven't got the same capacity to go and do loads of data mining on stats and things. I can do it, for certain things and go and have a look at. I'm not keeping exactly the same level of detail of stats as what I did last year, certainly. So keeping the profit loss. But I mean, even if you personally, I'm sure there's a lot of people that probably do keep a profit loss. There's probably a bunch of people that try it and then can't even keep on top of their own profit and loss. So you can imagine, if I'm keeping a profit and loss for the channel and myself, that in itself is a bit of a task. And you'll have seen, there's channels out there that do, start keeping a profit and loss and then stop it or whatnot, because just keeping on top of it is a bit of a challenge. But for me, it's quite important. But yeah, maybe the future is, I don't do any of those things. I literally just make a video, go, here's my 6 favourite horses for the day. You do what you want with them. I'm not going to put them in a bet for you. I'm not going to keep statistics and stuff like that. That would be a simpler, far less time consuming way for me to operate, literally, than if I'm not recording any statistics. And so I'm curious to get, of all of this musing I've just been putting out there, I'm sure there'll be a couple of people go, you just rambled on, just shut up next time and give us the tips. I'm more interested in the people that actually have got a view about the stuff I've said, about what you think and what you would like in terms of going forward with the channel, of any of those things I've just talked about for the last few minutes. But anything I've said that you like or you don't like, it would be great to hear what that is. But we are cracking on till the end of the year, and then we'll have a bit of a look see and see where we get to. All right, I think that is it. I'll be back then. When am I back? Thursday night? Wednesday night? This is Tuesday night? Oh, I never get so confusing when I do these late night videos, right? This is technically Tuesday night for Wednesday's videos, isn't it? So it's Wednesday night, about Wednesday night for Thursday's selections, I think. Although I'm not quite sure how Thursday's looking at the moment. We'll see. All right. Thank you very much. I'm going to bed. Bye-bye.